Hello friends, we continue the series of films about our trip to the Black Sea in March. You can watch other films from this series in the Black Sea playlist. Today's video is about the 6th day of our trip. It will be very short. We spent this day almost entirely at the hotel. We immediately liked it. Quiet location, comfortable room, friendly hosts. Despite the low season, we were not alone here. But the other guests remained almost unnoticeable and did not bother us at all. Our car was parked in plain sight and it was convenient to get down to it. The food in the cafe was delicious and the prices were affordable. Breakfast was included in the room price. The owners were always available for any questions. Compared to the extremely uncomfortable hotel in Mirny, it was simply wonderful here. We felt almost at home. This was very helpful because we were tired and needed a break. The first 4 days of our trip were too intense, and the 5th day, when our car broke down in the morning, turned out to be very nervous. In addition, the weather deteriorated even more. In the morning, the sky was completely overcast. It was cold and windy. The forecast promised rain and even colder weather. Driving along the west coast in this weather didn't seem like a good idea at all. It was better to return to the Crimean south, or even directly to the mainland. They also promised colder weather there, but in subtropical Sochi it is more pleasant than in the steppe part of Crimea. We thought maybe we should wait a couple of days before moving on. In addition, here, near Evpatoria, we definitely wanted to see the pink salt lakes. And if this trip turned out to be so cold for us, then at least we wanted to choose a brighter day to visit those beautiful lakes. And then, the hotel is not even in the village of Zaozernoe, but in a separate block. On one side there is the sea. Around there is an undeveloped wasteland. So the privacy of this place turned out to be its only advantage. There is everything for relaxation here, but there is absolutely nothing to see. You can't even walk 2 steps to the sea. This is where the shore is closed to traffic and passage. The hotel owners, of course, are not happy about this. After all, in terms of nature, the sea is the only thing they have, and now all that remains from the sea is sea air. And yes, you can't complain about the lack of air here. It's really salty and rich. These places are generally known as a source of table salt. On the salt lakes and ponds of Saki, it is mined on an industrial scale using the self-planting method. The village of Zaozernoe is named so because of the lakes. These are salt lakes of a different type, mud lakes. There are 3 of them, large, small and medium. They are called Yalta in Crimean Tatar, and the village of Zaozernoe used to be called the same. These lakes are former estuaries that became shallow over time. The water and mud in them are considered medicinal and contain a lot of salt and useful minerals. By the way, on the entire western coast of Crimea, the water in the tap is brackish, and in Zaozernoe, this taste is perfectly felt when you simply wash your face and brush your teeth. It is better not to drink this water even when boiled. In the hotel, by the way, free drinking water was always available in the rooms and in the cafe. We asked the owners if it was possible to walk from the hotel to the open beach. They advised us to go by car. In the summer, when regular customers come, they have a shuttle service. And now, in the low season, they themselves go there every day, just to get some air and take a walk. We also decided, why not? We drove several kilometers to be at least a little near the sea, despite the gloomy sky and piercing wind. The road took a little time, but the impression was, let's say, not the most joyful. Zaozernoe is the closest suburb of Yevpatoria on the western side, almost an area of Moody city. But unlike the big Yevpatoria, this is a low-rise and somewhat outdated village. Here, as in Mirny, time seemed to stand still. This doesn't just mean old architecture and the lack of fancy entertainment. When you are in Mirny or Zaozernoe, you physically feel that no one is in a hurry, no one is fussing, no one is trying to correspond to the spirit of the times. Of course, this feature has 2 sides. In some places, these towns look too run down. It may be difficult for a tourist to find even the most necessary things in them. After all, local residents are accustomed to passing information by word of mouth, and they rarely use the internet. But, on the other hand, Even the most unsociable tourists like us can freely turn to any passerby for help. And get this help because an ordinary resident of such a town will always have a couple of minutes in his leisurely daily routine. Without fuss, they tend to their gardens, remove trash, and prevent their yards from becoming landfills. In Zaozernoe, the entire territory along the coast is reserved for specialized children's sanatoriums. The oldest of them, Chaika, was opened more than 100 years ago. Driving past these sanatoriums, we did not notice any children or young people near them. And in general, there were very few people on the streets of the village, although the day was a day off, Sunday. Almost all beaches at children's sanatoriums are now closed and entry is prohibited. Those beaches that are open appear to be used by regular hotels. We're not sure it's possible to film any buildings right now, so we were cautious just in case. The lighthouse we passed by is also not working now. We wanted to look at the light of the lighthouse in the evening, but alas. In general, Zaozernoe has always been considered a place for a quiet, relaxing holiday. Those who do not like noisy resorts usually come here, but now the silence here is somehow different. Don't think that we are deliberately describing these places so sad and gloomy. We do not want anyone to have a bad impression of Evpatoria and its surroundings. On the contrary, we wish these places prosperity, so that the beaches open here, new guests arrive, the streets are filled with children's voices. Of course, you should not go here in cold weather at the beginning of spring. There are more suitable places for this. However, if you are traveling without children, do not want vivid impressions and need a complete reboot, then the deserted western coast of Crimea is a good option. Honestly, in a moment of fatigue, we have a desire to live in one of the sanatoriums that have been preserved in those parts since Soviet times. Breathe the sea air, walk along the cypress alleys, not rush anywhere, and not remember what century it is today. Don't see anyone for days, and if you want to communicate, meet simple, kind people. Once again, we want to say a huge thank you to those who came to our aid in a difficult situation in Mirny. Let us remind you that you are now looking at our travel diary. Later, we plan to release a film about our overall impressions of the trip. Then we will describe this situation in more detail. And a big thank you to everyone who supports the life of small towns and villages, who makes them cozy without waiting for financial support from the authorities. Thanks to you, we still have the desire to return there.